There are many modern challenges to growing food profitably and sustainably, such as extreme weather events, international competition, and labor shortages, just to name a few. Welcome to the St. Joseph Center. My name is Sean Pissera, and I'll be covering many topics on high tunnels and walking through the whole building process. High tunnels, also known as hoop houses, are a form of protected culture. They provide better growing conditions for plants and allow growers to produce more marketable crops on less land. This video is intended to provide in-depth instruction for high tunnel site selection, construction, maintenance, and repair. We hope that after watching this video, you will be equipped with further knowledge on what goes into building a high tunnel and if adding a high tunnel is right for you. When thinking about the site selection of your high tunnel, there are four main considerations: slope, soil health, placement or orientation, and access to utilities. A gentle slope not exceeding 5% will help facilitate proper drainage, while a slope that is too steep can cause stress on the structure, lead to erosion, and complicate irrigation issues. If a site is too flat, however, it can cause drainage problems, such as standing water, and this can negatively affect plant health. While amendments can help improve soil quality, they can't fix all drainage issues, so it's important to choose an area with soil that's already conducive to growing plants. Usually well-drained loam or sandy loam soils are best. Make sure to professionally test your soil to know if it has what you need to give your plants the best start. There are three main factors that influence tunnel orientation: prevailing winds, light exposure, and accessibility. If you have extremely strong winds in your area, you may consider turning your tunnel for the end walls to face the prevailing wind direction. This will help reduce resistance to strong winds. It's critical also to maximize sun exposure and avoid shading. So orient the high tunnel with the ridge line or the roof peak running north to south here in Arkansas. You also want to locate the tunnel in a place that is convenient to access. You want to be able to get the crops you're harvesting out very easily, get equipment in, and make other operations and maintenance more accessible. It's also very important to consider the size of the tunnel. Let the size of the site influence the size of the tunnel. Don't force the tunnel to fit into a space that may be too small or that isn't suitable. Utilities are another important factor when considering where to position the high tunnel. Make sure that your tunnel has access to water for irrigation and power if it requires powered ventilation. Before you settle in on a final site placement and orientation, be sure to review state-specific NRCS specifications with your local NRCS conservationists, and then confirm compliance with your high tunnel manufacturer if you are seeking NRCS financial assistance. Understanding the purpose of various structural components and their impact on tunnel management can limit and even prevent future production headaches. A Gothic style tunnel, which is peaked in the middle, is excellent for shedding snow and rain. A Quonset style tunnel is more rounded or has a domed roof. They're cheaper, but can cause issues with heavy snow loads. Inside the tunnel frame, there are trusses that provide additional stability and strength to each bow. Each truss can be configured in a W style, a V style, or simply straight across. Preparing the ground properly is essential for a successful high tunnel install and long-term productivity. First, you'll want to clear the site of grasses and perennial weeds. You can do so by using a tiller or a silage tarp or clear plastic that is UV treated in order to occultate or solarize the grasses and weeds. It is easier to conduct the initial ground preparation and amendments prior to construction. Trying to get those grasses out of the tunnel afterwards can be a lot more challenging. Wait until after the high tunnel is finished to prepare the final beds. The first crucial step is squaring the tunnel. It ensures that the structure is correctly aligned and stable. And getting this right is essential for the overall integrity of the tunnel and ensuring that the position of all four corners are exactly where they need to be. Use a tape measure, stakes, and string to mark out the area and make adjustments as you need until the diagonals are equal. I've found it easiest to lay out the longest side of the tunnel first, approximately where you want it to be. Then I'll use the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, to square my end wall with my longest side. If your tunnel is 30 feet wide, you can measure 40 feet from the length of the end wall, and then diagonally, that new corner should be exactly 50. So 30, 40, and 50. I'll then repeat the process on the opposite side of the tunnel and double check that I have exactly the right length between the two new established posts. I'll double check my diagonals from corner to corner and corner to corner to make sure I have the same measurement. If all the lengths, widths, and diagonals measure up, then I have a square tunnel. Next, we'll lay the foundation. This involves marking the location of the posts or the footers. If your design requires concrete footers, dig holes at the specified depths and pour concrete according to your manufacturer's recommendations. So whether you're pouring concrete or driving posts, you may run into rocks and other problems. And if so, it may require some creative problem solving. We've used landscape fabric to go over the top of the ground post and then push it against the ground to create a nice buffer between the grasses on the outside of the tunnel and the soil on the inside of the tunnel. This will help prevent mowing too close to the tunnel and help keep weeds from encroaching inside. Once the ground posts are level and square, you'll begin the next step, which is assembling the frame. This is an important step to lay out the parts of the kit, make sure everything is present, and you know where everything goes. If you have a team, it's a good practice to divide and conquer. We had one team working on the ground posts and another team working on assembling the bows. Both of these processes can take a while and are pretty repetitive. Laying the bows out in a jig format on the ground helps speed that process up. We pounded posts equal to the width of the tunnel on the ground and laid the bow out in between. We then placed bolts into the ground where each connection point was going to be as a reminder of where to place our brace bands and where to add our tech screws. This ensured that every bow is assembled exactly the same way. Anchoring the frame properly is critical for wind stability and wind resistance. You want to make sure that the ground posts are installed level to one another and perpendicular to the ground. These will receive the bows in the next step. Once the ground posts are installed and your bows and your hoop house are assembled, it's time to raise them into place. Once the hoops or bows are in the ground post, level them and make sure that they are perpendicular to the ground. Next, we will install the purlins, which will help hold the bows in place. Once the purlin is installed and the bows are square and perpendicular to the ground, you can then install them into the ground posts using the supplied fasteners, which can sometimes be screws or bolts. Wind braces run at diagonals between bows to help give them additional strength. This will add a tremendous amount of strength to the tunnel and should be included with your kit. Now that the framing is complete, it's time to install the plastic. We'll first install the wiggle wire channel, which will secure the plastic. And it'll also be very important at this step to make sure you pull the plastic cover as tightly as possible to avoid it flapping or tearing, and ensure that the cover stretches evenly to prevent any sort of snags. You'll then use wiggle wire and channel to attach the plastic securely to the frame. End wall design can also dramatically influence the ventilation of the tunnel. You may see an option to get peak vents within the end walls. This allows heat that is accumulated at the top of the tunnel to exit through the end walls and will draw new air, cooler air, in through the sidewalls. Additionally, doors can be used as ventilation. In this case, a wider door can help move more air through the tunnel. Many doors come in 4 foot by 8, 4 foot by 10, or you can do a single door or double doors or a roll-up door. You can install the doors and the vents before putting on the plastic. However, I found that waiting to attach them until after the plastic is on helps prevent the plastic from snagging or tearing on the vents or the doors. Sidewalls can open by either dropping them down or rolling them up. Drop-down sidewalls tend to cost more and be more time-consuming to install. However, they allow you to vent out warm air from the top of the tunnel without bringing cold air rushing in from the bottom. Roll-up sides open from the bottom, so cold air enters nearest the ground, but they also are more affordable. Both roll-up sides and drop-down sides can be opened incrementally for better climate management. The bows and the frames of the tunnel are made of metal. However, the end walls, baseboards, and hip boards can be made of wood. These common wooden components are a common point of failure and will rot out and need to be replaced over time. Utilizing metal hip boards, baseboards, and end walls will be more expensive, but they'll prevent you from having to replace those parts in the future. It'll save you maintenance, time, and money in the long run. If you've installed your tunnel leading up to the summer season, you can now put on the shade cloth. Shade cloth is a must if you are growing anywhere in the South. The final step is to prepare the ground inside your high tunnel for growing. If you don't already have beds constructed, go ahead and construct raised or in-ground beds. This is also a great time to install your drip irrigation system. This will be critical because you've now eliminated all the rainfall on the ground, so the only water these plants get are what you give them. Maintaining your high tunnel is the key to ensuring its longevity and functionality. Regular inspections and timely repairs can help prevent small issues from becoming big problems. Look for signs of wear and tear, especially on the plastic covering. You want to make sure that the sidewalls and doors are in good working order. Replace the plastic as needed, but a full plastic replacement is often needed every 4 to 5 years, depending on the quality of the plastic and your local weather conditions. I recommend keeping a repair kit on hand with patches and adhesives that can help stop any small holes or tears from growing larger. You'll want to check the structural integrity of your high tunnel on an annual basis as well, especially if you've had any significant storms. This will ensure that all bolts and connections are tight and secure. Over time, debris, dirt, algae can accumulate on your tunnel and in the roll-up sides, and you'll want to clean those at least annually with a brush and soapy water. Now that you've seen what goes into selecting, purchasing, and constructing a high tunnel or greenhouse, I hope you have a better understanding of whether or not it's a good addition for your farm or garden and what design or size will work best for you. These guidelines will help you successfully install and maintain a high tunnel. If you have any additional questions or need further assistance, be sure to reach out to your local NRCS conservationist or county extension agent. They are a great and valuable resource for helping you get the most out of your high tunnel and for troubleshooting any issues you might encounter along the way. Be sure to check out the description below for more links to helpful high tunnel information. Thank you for watching and good luck on making the most out of your growing season.